Okay, so first we're going to go ahead and unpack all of the parts that we're going to work with today. This is our heat sink. And here's our little tools. There's a nozzle wrench, some thermal paste, some Allen keys, this is our all-metal throat, here's our Volcano heater block and its associated bolts and grub screw. Nicely machined. That's an all aluminium block to the point. So just put that over there. We'll get these bolts ready. And grub screw. Don't want to lose that little grub screw. It's very tiny, very easy to lose. Put it up there. And we'll put the heater block up there with it in a moment. Yeah, let's put that up there. Okay, here's our nozzle. In case you're wondering, that's a 0.4. There it is, somewhere. There it is, 0.4 marked. I use the hardened steel because they're good for abrasives, and I do a lot of abrasive materials. So here's our heat sink ready to take our throat. Now obviously here's what we need to do. We need to get a little bit of this thermal paste into the threads. They've already made it very easy, so I didn't need my scissors. Just tear that back carefully and just get some onto the threads. And we don't want any on the little section of threads. That's for the heater block only. We want it up here where there's an interface between the throat and the heat sink. There we go. That should be enough. Now we just spread that around. I'm using my fingers just to press it into the threads and spread it around all the way around. You don't have to get the entire threads top to bottom if you don't want to, but you do need to get like the first 5 millimeters or so, because that'll get it to spread up into the heat sink as you thread it in. That's reasonably good, just a little bit too much on one side, so I'm going to try to press it up in there. There we go. Let's try to get that last little bit and just get it right even with the top of the threads. Clean my hands here. Okay. Now, let's go ahead, carefully inspect, make sure you got as much as you'd like on it, and let's get that into the heat sink. Just turn it nice and evenly, and just keep turning it until you feel it stop at the inside. Once you feel it stop, like that, then just give it a nice little extra grip and tighten it in as tight as you can, finger tight. This way, obviously, it'll get properly tightened when we do the rest of the installation. Try to wipe off any of the excess, although it won't hurt anything. It's nice to have it clean up in there. That way you can detect if there's anything going wrong later. A little bit better. Probably could have used a paper towel. And there we go. Don't get it on these. Okay, so here's our heatsink ready to go in, and just thread this in. Now you only go so far, just enough where the top of the threads of the throat are flush and even, not too high, not too low. We're going to check that, obviously, with the nozzle to see if we got it at the right distance into the throat or into the heater block. That's where it stops, and when we look at it, there's just a little gap. Not much. I'll show a picture at the end that shows how much of a gap you can expect. It's about 1 millimeter approximately. You want that gap. You can even use your fingernail because you need room to be able to tighten it while it's hot later. Yeah? Just give it a nice little finger tight. There we go. Now, obviously, you can use the sock to kind of also gauge it. So we're going to put this on the way it would normally go on, and as you can see, those two little side pieces perfectly fit in with only a mild amount of tension. That means we probably got everything exactly as it needs to be. That's where your thermistor will go, and there's a nice little gap for the wires to come out, but still cover the heater block completely. So let's take this back off and get the other bolts and that ready. We'll start with the grub screw, which will hold your thermistor. Because that's the easiest of all of them to lose, and sometimes the harder to find a replacement. Now we'll get our other Allen key for the two retention bolts that will compress the split section of the block that holds your heater cartridge. I could probably do these by hand, at least down to a bit, because you don't need to tighten these all the way in right now. Just get them where they're ready. There we go. Just finger touching down there. That's that way, and as you can see, that raised section is accommodating where the heads of the bolts are. Again, we're still looking good on the sides. Spacing's good. Nozzle sticking out appropriately. Now we need to put the retention collet for the PTFE. Let's get one of those. This kit comes with 2 of them because they can wear out and get damaged if you have a tendency to take it out, put it in, take it out, put it in. These just press in and kind of pop snap in place. You got to give it a little bit of a press, but it will go in. There we go. And when the PTFE is in there, it'll hold a lot easier, and this just makes sure that it locks in place and holds your PTFE tube while it's in motion. And that's pretty much the beginning assembly of this heater block. We have one more step to do. Here we go. So here we are. I've got the heater block obviously ready. I've heated it up to 250°C, and this is where you tighten it. Hold the heat sink, take the nozzle wrench, please be careful, and just give it a finger tightness, just a little bit of an extra nudge, like a bumping kind of nudge, so it's nice and snug against the throat. It will twist a little bit, and this is what I meant about it tightening up against the inside of the heat sink. You just want that little bit, not overly crank it in, yeah? Once you've got that, you can go back to your LCD and cool it back down, and you're done. And there's your Volcano ready to be installed. I'm just going to include some extra pictures in that to show you the fine points.